When I was 19, I fell hard for Julia Anderson. She was the kind of girl you don't forget. The cheer captain with a million-watt smile, always surrounded by friends, always out of my league. I was a broke dishwasher working nights at a crummy diner, just trying to pay community college tuition. But I was young and stupid enough to think feelings mattered. I asked Julia out once. Just once. In the parking lot after her shift at the mall. She laughed, genuinely laughed, and told me, "Sorry, I don't date broke boys." Those 5 words burned into my memory like a brand. I didn't hate her for it, but I hated myself for thinking I could reach someone like her. That night, I promised myself I'd never be broke again. The next decade was a grind. I worked 2 jobs, put myself through college, then clawed my way into a finance firm in Manhattan. Entry-level analyst to junior partner in 7 years. I slept 4 hours a night, missed holidays, lost friends. Money started pouring in. The kind of money I used to dream about when I was washing dishes for $6.50 an hour. By 32, I owned 3 properties, drove a Bentley, and had my name on Forbes' under 35 Titans list. But love? That stayed out of reach. I dated models, influencers, even a pop star. None of them lasted. Maybe because deep down, I didn't trust anyone not to see me as a walking dollar sign. Then I met her. Her name was Sienna. It was a charity gala at the Ritz. I was there as a guest speaker, half bored, counting down the minutes until I could leave. Sienna was sipping ginger ale at the bar, wearing a simple black dress, while every other woman in the room dripped in designer labels. She had the same electric smile I'd seen once before, years ago. I walked over, half curious, half intrigued. She introduced herself. Sienna Anderson. I nearly choked on my whiskey. Anderson. I leaned in. Your mom wouldn't happen to be Julia Anderson, would she? She blinked, surprised. Yeah, you know her? We went to school together. A long time ago. She smiled. Small world. Small didn't even begin to cover it. We talked for hours. Sienna wasn't her mother. She was smarter, sharper, studying law at NYU on a scholarship she earned herself. She didn't care about my money. Actually, she teased me about it. So you're one of those Wall Street wolves? She joked. I guess I am. Guess I should stay away from you, huh? I hope you don't. I don't know if it was her laugh or the way she looked me dead in the eye like she saw right through me, but I felt something real for the first time in years. 3 weeks later, I met Julia again at Sienna's family home. Julia opened the door and froze when she saw me. She hadn't changed much. A little older, sure, but the same sharp eyes, the same air of casual superiority. Except this time, the power wasn't in her hands. Her eyes darted to my Rolex. Then the Bentley parked at the curb. I smirked. Hey, Julia. Long time. She forced a smile. Wow, you've, done well. I guess I'm not a broke boy anymore. The color drained from her face. Sienna appeared beside her, giving her mom a quick hug. Mom, this is Evan, my boyfriend. Julia's eyes flicked between us, realization dawning, and with it, a storm of emotion I couldn't quite read. Regret, disbelief, maybe even a little fear. I shook her hand firmly. Pleasure to meet you again, Mrs. Anderson. Over the next few months, Julia tried to warn Sienna off me. He's older. You don't know him like I do. Men like him only want one thing. But Sienna wasn't her mother's puppet. One night, Sienna told me, I don't care what happened between you and my mom. You're not him anymore, and I'm not her. That's when I knew I was falling hard. Not for revenge, not to settle some old score, but because Sienna was everything Julia wasn't. I never told Sienna what her mom said to me all those years ago. I didn't need to, because I wasn't chasing ghosts anymore. I had the real thing standing right in front of me, and this time, I wasn't going to let her go. It didn't take long before Julia crossed the line. It was a Saturday evening. Sienna and I had planned a quiet dinner at my penthouse. Her idea. She liked escaping the noise of the city. Curled up on my couch in sweats, eating takeout instead of dining at 5-star restaurants. But then my doorman called. Sir, there's a Ms. Julia Anderson here. Says it's urgent. I didn't even have time to react before Julia stepped off the elevator, right into my living room, uninvited. Sienna stared, stunned. Mom? What are you? Julia didn't look at her. Her eyes locked on me. We need to talk. Alone. I folded my arms. If you have something to say it now. Julia's jaw tightened. Fine. She turned to Sienna. Honey, he's using you. Sienna scoffed. Seriously? Julia pressed on. This man, he's older, richer, and playing you. Men like him don't date girls your age for love. They do it because they can. I could have stayed silent. Could have let Sienna defend me. But I didn't. Julia, I said, voice low, I'm not the same broke boy you laughed at in that parking lot. I built myself from the ground up, without anyone's help, especially yours. Her eyes flickered, a flash of something bitter. I was a teenager. So was I. I took a step closer. But I never forgot how quick you were to crush someone for not being enough. Julia's expression hardened. So this is payback? Sleeping with my daughter? Sienna gasped. Mom, how dare you? No, I said firmly. This isn't about you. It never was. Sienna is nothing like you, and that's exactly why I fell for her. Julia opened her mouth and closed it. Sienna grabbed my hand. We're done here. And for the first time in her life, Julia Anderson didn't have a comeback. After she left, Sienna looked at me, eyes shining with something soft, almost vulnerable. Is it true? She whispered. Did my mom really say that to you? I nodded slowly. Yeah, she did. Sienna leaned into me. I'm sorry. You're not her, Sienna, and I'm not that kid anymore. We write our own story now. She kissed me then, slow, sure, and full of something neither of us could deny. We got married 2 years later. Julia didn't come to the wedding, but it didn't matter. As Sienna walked down the aisle, eyes locked on mine, I realized something. Life wasn't about revenge. It was about rising so high that the people who once looked down on you could never reach you again. And maybe, just maybe, finding love in the one place you never thought to look. 5 years later, I stood on the balcony of our family home, a brownstone in Brooklyn, Sienna, and I bought together. Our son, Ethan, was playing in the garden with Sienna, their laughter echoing through the summer air. I watched them, heartful, not with pride for money, the business empire, or the success, but because I'd finally built something real, a family built on love, not status. Julia? We hadn't spoken in years. Sienna tried to reach out after Ethan was born. Julia never answered. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was guilt. Or maybe, when she looked at us, she saw the life she could have had if she hadn't measured people by their bank accounts. It didn't matter. I wasn't the kid she humiliated. I wasn't the man chasing revenge. I was a husband, a father, a man finally at peace. And as Sienna waved at me from the garden, her smile brighter than the summer sun, I realized I didn't need Julia's approval. I'd won the only way that mattered, by living a life she could never destroy. I grew up in the kind of neighborhood where dreams went to die, rusted cars on front lawns, liquor stores on every corner, and futures that felt more like death sentences and promises. I worked every odd job I could from the age of 16, mopping floors, flipping burgers, even hauling trash for minimum wage. Money slipped through my fingers like water. And then there was Julia Anderson. She was everything I wasn't: rich, beautiful, untouchable. Captain of the cheer squad, dating football stars, born with a silver spoon. I saw her every morning at school, a shining star walking past shadows like me. Still, I believed in foolish things back then, like fate, like love. I saved up for weeks to buy her a single rose and a cheap silver bracelet. I asked her out after school, heart pounding, hand shaking. Her response? You seriously thought a broke loser like you had a chance? Her words sliced deeper than I thought possible. The entire courtyard laughed. I didn't. I walked away that day, with a heart full of fire and a vow I whispered under my breath. I'll never be nothing again. I dropped out of college after one semester. I didn't have the luxury of tuition. Instead, I devoured books on business, coding, and finance. I worked in tech support during the day, cleaned offices at night, and built software in a borrowed storage unit whenever I could steal an hour. 5 years later, I launched my first startup. 7 years after that, I sold it for 8 figures. I didn't just become rich. I became the man everyone told me I could never be. One evening at a Manhattan charity gala, I saw her again. Julia, same sharp smile, older eyes, designer dress, hugging a figure carefully preserved by privilege. She was talking to the senator's wife, glass of champagne dangling between manicured fingers. I felt nothing, but then I saw her, the girl laughing at the bar. She had Julia's smile, but none of her coldness. Her laughter was real, eyes full of life. I introduced myself. Evan Carter. She shook my hand firmly. Sienna Anderson. I froze. Anderson? Yeah, my mom's Julia Anderson. I almost laughed, but I didn't, because as we talked, I realized something. Sienna wasn't Julia's reflection. She was her opposite. Sienna didn't care about my watch, my suit, or my car. She cared about the time I gave her, the respect, the honesty. I told her my story, not the parts about Julia, but about the kid who clawed his way out of the gutter. She listened like no one ever had. I like you, she said one night, because you know how to fight for things that matter. And for the first time in years, I believe someone meant it. But Julia wasn't done with me. The first time I visited Sienna's family home, Julia opened the door. Her eyes locked on me. Recognition flickered, then something colder. She plastered on a fake smile. Evan, what a surprise. I smiled right back. Isn't it though? It was a silent war after that. Julia whispered warnings to Sienna, spread rumors, even showed up at my office pretending to be concerned for her daughter's future. I shut her down every time, until the night she crossed the line. She showed up at my penthouse, uninvited. Sienna was with me. Julia stormed inside like she owned the place. You think this is real? She snapped at Sienna. Men like him don't marry girls like you. You're a phase, a toy, and he's playing you. I stood between them. Julia, stop. You stay out of this. She sneered. You're a gold digger with a better suit. That's all you'll ever be. Sienna's voice rang out, clear, furious. Get out, Mom. Julia froze. What? Get out. You don't control me. Not anymore. Julia's face crumbled in a way I'd never seen, and I realized her power wasn't real. It was fear she sold to the people around her, and fear dies the moment you stand up to it. Sienna moved in with me that night. We got married a year later in a small ceremony overlooking the Hudson River. Julia didn't come. We sent her an invitation anyway, not out of spite, out of closure. Years later, when I held our first child in my arms, a daughter named Hope, I thought about Julia again. I wonder if she ever lay awake at night, realizing the boy she rejected became the man her daughter chose. But then I looked at Sienna, smiling through tears beside me, and I knew it didn't matter. I hadn't won by making Julia regret her choices. I'd won by walking away and never looking back. 3 years after our wedding, I saw Julia one last time. It was at a networking event in Manhattan, a fundraiser for underprivileged youth, the kind of event Julia used to attend for photo ops. I wasn't expecting her, but there she was, standing by the bar, clutching a drink too tightly, dressed in a designer gown that somehow looked tired. Her eyes caught mine across the room. For a moment, I thought she'd look away. She didn't. Instead, she walked over, heels clicking against the marble floor. Evan, she greeted softly. I nodded. Julia. There was no venom in her eyes this time. No smugness. Only something I hadn't seen before. Resignation. I heard about your daughter, she said quietly. Hope, that's her name, right? Yeah. Julia nodded. Looked down. Then, I'm happy for you. And for Sienna. It wasn't much, but it was honest. I studied her face. The woman who once humiliated me, tried to sabotage me, fought to keep me out of her daughter's life. Now, She was just another person who learned too late that power built on pride always crumbles. Thank you, I said. I didn't know her anger, or revenge, or even forgiveness. But maybe I owed her this ending. Julia gave a faint smile. She's nothing like me, you know. Sienna, I met her gaze. That's why I love her. She swallowed hard, blinked fast, and then she walked away. No drama, no last words. Just gone. I turned back to Main Hall, where Sienna was laughing with a group of young students. Her charity foundation in full swing, a legacy she built on compassion, not ego. Our daughter was waiting at home. Our life was ours now. And Julia Anderson? She was nothing but a name in a past I no longer carried. True, endings aren't about revenge. They're about becoming someone so whole, even the ghosts of your past can't haunt you anymore.